When you go to Africa today, look what's happening in the Congo, what's happening in Cameroon, what's happening in Somalia, what's happening in Mali, what's happening in Niger. Who are the people you see holding the guns? It's not white people. It's black people holding the guns. It's us killing each other. We're being given peanuts to kill each other. Have you ever wondered? A continent that doesn't have a single gun manufacturing plant. We have endless supply of guns. If you want to know what is going on in our Africa, I often say, when you hear something happen in Africa, look for the story behind the story. You want to know what's going on in our Africa, follow the guns. The conversation we are embarking on today is to see where we can say, how do we come together as children of one mother Africa? Can we please be the generation that's going to put an end to this carnage? Can we please be the generation that's going to turn the corner and begin to tell our children the truth and nothing but the truth? Imagine 20 years from now, you have your granddaughter, you have your grandson, and they're going to ask you, grandpa, grandmother, there were problems with our Africa. There were problems with our black race. What did you do? What did you do, grandma? What did you do, grandpa? Why must I live in a world that I'm going to be hated simply because of the color of my skin? Why must I live in a world afraid to be the next George Floyd? What is your answer going to be, my brothers and sisters? That we did nothing. Just like our parents and grandparents, we did nothing. And now we're just going to continue to be the underdogs, the mothers and fathers of humanity. We're going to continue to be treated as the scum of the earth. I would hope your answer to your grandchildren is that my granddaughter, my grandson, together with my brothers and sisters, we got together. We understand that what was taken away from us pivotally is denial of economic liberation. Economic liberation was denied to black people across the globe. Even in this beautiful United States, had the black people been given the promised 40 acres and a mule, their conditions, their economic situation will be very different. As African countries were quote unquote getting their liberation from the colonizers, we were given limited political liberation to this day, but economic liberation was never given to us. The multinational companies that ran and operated in those countries that the colonies held, they remain in those countries to this day. They are the major employers in every African country. If you were a British colony, the majority of the multinationals in your country are British companies. If you were a French colony, the majority of the multinational companies in your country are French companies. They are the major employers and employing thousands of people. And if the heads of states try to force them to pay taxes, and by the way, most of them don't pay taxes. They have safe havens where they keep their money. They underreport what they mine. They underreport what they're selling, what they mine for. The end result is they don't pay taxes. They hide their money, safe havens. They are involved in illegal trade, illegal mining, illegal fishing, anything you can think of that they could steal out of Africa, they're involved in. The end results, trillions of dollars are getting out of Africa every year. And they return back 50 billion as aid. And we Africans are very happy to receive that aid. And we will thank them from hell to high heaven for giving us peanuts out of what they would have stolen from us at night. So I hope your answer to your grandchildren is, my brothers and sisters, we all got together. We analyzed our circumstances. We spoke about what was really going on. We educated each other about what was really going on. And that we should not be allowed to be thrown a shiny object and run after the shiny object when the real issues are over here. That example is about, for example, when I used to travel around the country, the minute I would finish talking, the first question, 100% of the time, but Ambassador, the African leaders are corrupt. I don't disagree. We have corruption issues in Africa at every level, down to the person who is leading the janitorial department. We gotta go after the corruption. 50 billion is a lot of money. Let's go after it. However, let's not go after 500 billion because we are being told to ignore that. It was a shocker for me to realize the corruption among African leaders was the beginning, the middle, and the end of every conversation to do with Africa. Until I started talking about the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. The question I had for the diaspora was, I understand your outrage over the $50 billion out of corruption. That's what the corruption watchdogs say is coming out of Africa from corruption. I said, where is your 10 times outrage over the $500 billion taken by France from 14 African countries? And that's when they were silent. They just simply did not know. If we're going to talk about corruption, let's talk about all corruption, because we got to deal with all of it. Tell me one African leader, one African country that has changed a leader and things changed. None. We can change leaders like we change clothes in Africa. Nothing is going to change because the fundamentals have not yet been addressed. Allow me to use the example of a tree. We have issues above the ground and issues below the ground. To the best of my ability, let me give you examples of issues above the ground and issues above the tree as they pertain to our Africa, so you can have a clearer understanding of what's at stake here. The issues of leadership, the issues of corruption, issues of lack of access to quality education, healthcare, infrastructure. Those are the trees, the leaves, the flowers, the branches above the tree that fall off one season after the other, and we complain. And as long as we don't address the issues of the root, the issues above the tree will continue. We can change leaders all we want. We might succeed at maybe 1 year, we have a good healthcare system, but pretty soon supplies will begin to fall off because we have no manufacturing. What's at the bottom? What's in the root is France, for example, taking over 500 billion out of Africa, forcing the leaders to only acquire military equipment from them. Do you think France is going to sell them superior military equipment than them? Forcing the countries to get their military trained by them. Do you think France is going to train them better than their own military? Being forced by France to say, we will occupy your countries, we will have military presence and can invade you without notice if we feel that our interests are being violated. Your natural resources discovered and yet to be discovered. France has the first right of refusal. The locals get what French companies don't want. Contracts, large or small, private or public. French companies have the first right of refusal. And of course, some of you are saying, well, why haven't the leaders done something about it? Well, you all know the history. Of the 65 older coups that have taken place in Africa, 22 African heads of states were assassinated or imprisoned. 16 of those are from former French colonies. Majority of them had wanted to pull away from the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. So the reality is, to talk about the path for the continuation of colonization, it became a go-to place, because you do that, you find your head on the chopping block. It was just that simple. The fear of the colonizers, my brothers and sisters, is real to this day. The consequences are real. Let's make no mistake about it. How do you tell a man growing up in Botswana, struggling to make ends meet and run his business, to think continental? It's not possible. But us in the diaspora, to whom much is given, much is expected, we have the ability to look at our Africa with a bird's eye view. We have the ability to mobilize our resources, financial resources. The brain drain has left Africa without the capacity, intellectual capacity, that Africa needs to build the Africa we want. The brains that Africa needs are in the diaspora. The end game is the children of Africa, in Africa and around the globe, can no longer continue to be disrespected, can no longer continue to be treated as the scum of the earth, and can no longer continue to be called poor when we are the inheritors of the richest continent on earth. We must honor our Africa, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The building of the Africa we want is our responsibility and ours alone. We can no longer allow others from the east, from the west, to take over the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is scheduled to begin next year, next month, really. There's a seat that has our name as African diaspora. If we vacate that seat, we are going to be vacating the ability to defend our children's inheritance. If we do not come together for ourselves, we must come together for the sake of our children and generations to come.